Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. It is Ramadan 1444 Hijrah or March 2023. I have decided to comment on the question of Arab unity, which is based on an Al Jazeera production consisting of many series which discusses the issues of Arab identity, nationalism, and unity. Hello, my name is Samirul Ariff, and I was actually trained in applied sciences, management, and political economy. I did not receive formal training in Islamic studies. However, I've always had a keen interest on this subject. And so I have decided to borrow from my brother from an Al Jazeera production that consists of many series. Now, in this episode, Unity Betrayed, which consists of two parts, it discusses the state of the Middle East and related areas following the fall of the Ottoman Empire and the Great Arab Revolt. For the record, I was trained in Middle Eastern economics and politics under the late Dr. Andrew Vincent, and also participated in Middle Eastern simulation games between universities. As you can see, this is the recommendation letter by Dr. Andrew Vincent.
The Arab world is a loose yet complex amalgamation of 22 countries, in which a pan-Arab identity is the proclaimed ideal. Its citizens share a common language, a common history, and believe that they share a common destiny. But in its search for unity, Arab society has been pulled in opposite directions: past versus present, sacred versus secular, monarchy versus democracy. The Ottoman Empire had ruled the Arab world for 400 years, with the final straw coming in the 19th century, when Turkish efforts to centralize control led to strong anti-Turkish feelings. In reaction, the Arab cultural renaissance, known as the Nahda, revived in people a sense of identity. But a looming world war was about to reveal the fragility of this renaissance, on which the Arabs based their hopes of closing the gap between the dream and reality of unity. Arabic culture, music, song and language was given pride of place in the literary renaissance of the 19th century. Struggling against Ottoman domination, Arab intellectuals and ordinary people alike yearned for a clear sense of purpose and direction, of the kind which had allowed their ancestors to build formidable empires and make the creative golden age of the Andalusian civilization possible. But while ideas of self-governance and national identity were taking form, they were full of contradictions between cultural, political and religious identities and majority and minority interests. In the middle of this debate, a conspiracy took place that was to betray the Arabs and shape modern Arab history. In the middle of the First World War, a secret European agreement, known as Sykes-Picot, preempted the fall of the Ottomans by dividing the areas of their Eastern Mediterranean Empire into British and French so-called zones of influence. The agreement also said that Britain and France were prepared to recognize and protect an independent Arab state in the areas not under the direct control of London and Paris. The British representative Sir Mark Sykes believed that he had done a good job with his counterpart, François Picot. The deal with France not only met the demands of the colonial powers, but also met Arab aspirations for self-government. Unfortunately, the Europeans on the one hand and the Arabs on the other had very different ideas about the definition of the word independence. And yet no Arab intellectual or leader had had a clear image of the political future. But with the betrayal of Sykes-Picot, one feeling began to unite all the different factions.
I think that feeling became Arabism when it had to converse, when it had to dialogue with the West. So you had to put your demands concerning independence and unity in a language which meets the dominant nationalism in Europe. So Arab nationalism is a way of, is a vehicle, if you want, for Arab demands of independence and unity addressed to Europe, because Europe was the colonial powers that dominated the region or sought to dominate the region with the collapse of the Ottoman Empire.
The Sykes-Picot Agreement and its implications have become part of the collective consciousness of the Arabs. And on the Arab street, it has been a major factor in the shaping of attitudes towards the West.
معاهدة سايكس-بيكو أسست على أن لا تقوم وحدة عربية بجميع الدول العربية.
إحنا لسه مستعمرين. ما في دولة مستقلة يعني إلا كل واحد تابع لدولة أجنبية.
الوحدة يوم أمسك بزمامها زعماء للأسف كلهم مشترين ومباعين لحكومات غربية، فقدنا الرابط الحقيقي.
More than a century before it was showered by American spin doctors with slogans about freedom agendas and good governance, the Arab world had a figure for whom these concepts were essential. Arabism before 1916 stood for an increased awareness of Arab history and language, asking for change within the Ottoman system and not necessarily political independence. But the imposition of Turkish as the language of schools and courts, Turkish controls over religious endowments, and the dismissal of local officials led to the adoption of Arabism as the expression of opposition to secularization and Turkish rule. Abdul Rahman al-Kawakibi, a Syrian journalist and lawyer, emphasized in his writings the necessity of standing against any kind of despotism, and especially Ottoman. Throughout his life, his main theme centered on the importance of the Arabs regaining the Islamic Caliphate from the Turks.
ركز الكواكبي على موضوع العرب والعروبة خصوصاً بقصد تمييزهم عن الأتراك.
Al-Kawakibi concentrated on the issues of the Arabs and Arabism from the point of view of differentiating them from the Turks. He also concentrated on religion because he was not only a political and social reformer, he was also a religious reformer. He concentrated on the fact that the Caliph should be an Arab cleric and not a Turk, like Abdul Hamid, who was Sultan and Caliph at the same time. From this perspective, we can say that Al-Kawakibi paved the way for the understanding of Arabism and its ideology.
يعني فينا نقول إنه الكواكبي مهد لمفهوم العروبة أو للإيديولوجية العربية.
Al-Kawakibi saw the Muslims of his day as altogether ignorant that the glories of Islam were Arab contributions, from the Prophet and the language of the Quran to its first political community and its law. Of all the world's Muslims, in the Arabs, particularly the Arabs of the Arabian Peninsula, he saw distinctive virtues: solidarity, courage, loyalty, generosity, and resilience. He felt they were respectful of the principles of democratic exchange and equal rights. They fiercely guarded their liberty and independence and were least accepting of authoritarianism. Al-Kawakibi also thought that the Arabs of the peninsula remained practitioners of the purest form of Islam. He argued that non-Arab Muslims had corrupted Islam, expressing regret that non-Arabs, especially Turks, had embraced the faith.
ركز على إنه يكون الخليفة.
He focused on the principle that the Caliph should be an Arab Muslim from the Quraysh clan, meaning from the Arabian Peninsula, and from Mecca in particular.
ومن مكة تحديداً.
Some modern scholars believe that Al-Kawakibi's ideas may have helped agitate the Arabs to ask for the restoration of the caliphate, led by a member of the Quraysh clan, a descendant of the Prophet himself. In short, someone who was an Arab, was experienced, and was a leader. Sharif Hussein ibn Ali of Mecca appeared to be the answer. He was from the Quraysh clan, and he was custodian of the holy places of Islam, Mecca and Medina. A royal descendant of the Prophet Muhammad and the governor of the Hijaz region of Arabia, he had both the religious and political qualifications.
Arab thinkers and leaders in Syria mainly contacted him, and they were seeking a leader to lead the Arabs against the attempt of the Turks to subvert the Arabs, to subdue them.
When the Ottomans allied themselves with Germany during World War I, the British and French saw their opportunity to break the Ottoman Empire and control Ottoman lands. At the same time, the Arabs wanted independence from the Turks, but they would need support. And suddenly the idea of supporting Arab independence became very attractive to the British. Sharif Hussein and his sons were about to become leading figures of the Arab independence movement.